All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon the time that you might be catching this one, ladies and gentlemen. You are now tuned into Austin Off Script, and you are in the hands of the best fake doctor that you've ever seen. And for those of you listening on Clubhouse,
welcome to Austin Off Script with Dr. Julio, the best fake doctor on the app. No cap. Sit back and get ready to laugh, cry, sip, and sigh. This is Austin Off Script, the best podcast in the world.
Best podcast in the world.
You laid me out with best fake doctor. That was hilarious.
Hey, but look, somebody asked me, Judge Lynn, they asked me now, my PhD is just in the algorithm because at the social media site, I'm going to take it over. You hear me?
That's funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are with the living legend herself, man. The Honorable Judge Lynn Toler.
How y'all doing?
It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure. So, Judge Lynn, tell everybody, for somebody that may not have come across you to begin with, tell them a little bit about who you are, what you did, what got you in. How did you go from being just Lynn Toler to the Honorable Judge Lynn Toler from divorce court? How does that happen?
I graduated from Harvard in 81, University of Pennsylvania, JD in law, 84, practiced law for 9 years, got married while I was doing that, had a baby, ran for judge at 33, won, served a full term, ran again, won again. Fox called me, said, you want to be on TV? And y'all know the rest.
And there it is. So you tell us about what you're working on now, because you did divorce court for a number of years.
For a minute. It was 13. They say 14. I think it was 13 years, but I don't know. I can't. I'm not really sure. Right now, I'm on Marriage Boot Camp, which is on WeTV, and I'm also got a new show on called Commit or Quit on WeTV, and it also streams on All Black the Monday after the Thursday that it normally airs. So it airs on WeTV at 10 p.m. Eastern time, and then on All Black on the streaming device the next Monday.
So Commit or Quit. That's a great segue into my next question. You did divorce court for 13, 14 years.
Right.
With that, you know as well as I do, how we met on Clubhouse was through a conversation on relationships.
Right.
Like, you dealt with divorce. You dealt with people separating on a constant basis. Did that ever take a toll on you? And did you ever? How many relationship breakdowns do you think could have been fixed, or do you think could have been saved? How many marriages do you think could have been saved?
I think a lot of them could be saved. I mean, I came to divorce court off the heels of a criminal court, so I was putting people in jail. So everything after that is kind of like.
Well, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Together no more. I'll decide who needs Fluffy the dog, and
she said I went from decide how many years you get to who keeps the dog and the money.
I don't have to walk around at night and wonder about what I did and did I do the right thing. It's just, and I give the relationship advice as best I can because I think everybody could benefit from it in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not just talking to the two people in front of me. I'm also talking to everybody beyond them. From the audience to the camera and beyond.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you definitely always did. There was a statement that you made in one of your clips that I was looking at yesterday. You said you may not be able to control what a person does to you, but you can control how you respond and how much you allow them to do it. Right. As a married woman yourself, what are some of the things that has made your marriage last so long that you wish you could give to other people that, so that way they don't have to end up in divorce court, have to end up splitting up?
We're strong believers in a marriage counseling. It's not something you do as a last Hail Mary to save the marriage. It's what we did before we got married, so we would know what we would run into when we got married. And when we got married and things got rough, we went back. And if one of us realized it was one of us, we would go individually to counseling in order to get our act right. And come and, I know it's me, baby. I'm gonna go.
But that requires right.
Done that.
That requires a lot of accountability, though. Do you think that exists? Do you think that exists among Black folk today? Because like Bernie Mac would say, see, Black folk, I've been Black a long time. You understand? Black people, we funny. You know what I'm saying? So
we have struggles in our community that I do not think that we address in practical and efficacious manner. I think we're a very we vibrate up here. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Say it with your chest. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We vibrate up here. had a party one time. To tell you,
Uh,
quick story.
Come on, talk to me.
Party, and it was. I was at a law firm at the time.
Mhm.
Half my company was black, half my company was white. I had black judges, federal judges, all that. We were there, and it was a nice party until 11 o'clock, and all the white people left, and then. 4 o'clock in the morning, we still rocking and rolling and doing it was another thing. And we were all lawyers and judges and doctors, but we just have a different cultural vibrational level. So I think that when we come together to resolve our problem, when we come together to discuss our problems, we end up vibrating a little too high with them because it's fun.
Mhm.
We are madly entertaining,
Yes.
and so it's fun to be spicy, but spicy doesn't get you where you want to go.
Yes,
Spicy gets you numbers, and
It
numbers
does.
where you want to go.
It does.
That's
I think.
fighting.
Yeah, it does. That's interesting. You said spiciness gets you numbers. When you look at some of the programs and some of the television shows that are on today, I think they took what you said and they think that is it just a good thing for us to just focus on the numbers aspect, or do we need to have a refocus, especially in the Black community, on delivering quality shows to us? Because when you look at there are a lot of reality shows centered around relationships, but it almost seems that a good percentage of them rest in dysfunction.
And they do, and they always will, because nobody's gonna do a show about two people who get along. They get up, they have lunch, they talk. Where you going? What you doing? It's not interesting. Drama is drama. Movies don't happen when two people just have a regular relationship and everything's fine. You have to be in struggle. You have to have problems. So, and the problems create ratings, and ratings create money, and money drives the whole thing. But I will say this, like on Marriage Boot Camp, Dr. Ish and I kind of changed the nature of the show, because they used to do stuff like, these big exercises, and they would fake them out and all that kind of stuff. His stuff was so legit that he does legit therapy with them without all of that train wreckness. Now they are train wrecks, but they bring that. We do not set that up.
So they bring you the train wreck and then you whip them into shape. Is that what happens?
What we're trying to do.
But okay, when you looking at some of the marriage statistics, right? I think 1 in 4 Black women, Umar Johnson even has been quoted as making this statement: 1 in 4 Black women get married, 25%. I think 34% of Black males are married. Why do you think there's such a disparity between male Black men getting married and Black women not getting married? Why do you think that number is so low?
I'm not really sure about the disparity. I do know that Black men tend to, interracial dating, it tends to be statistically more Black men and white women. I think that there are a variety of things that have come together to cause us terrible difficulties. The first thing is generationally, historically, we were not in charge of ourselves. You take us out of that circumstance, we did do well. There were places my parents did very well, and we lived in a neighborhood I thought all white people were poor and all Black people were rich because of the neighborhood that I lived in. And I was little. It was the 60s, wasn't a whole lot of TV or nothing. I just didn't know.
Right.
But I think that when we migrated north, first one massive piece did it, then another massive piece did it, but they wouldn't let us move anywhere. So you had a whole group, second migration of Black folks on top of the old migrations that took down cities like Chicago and Baltimore and St. Louis, because you put all of that stress in one little place, it falls apart. Then you come back with the drug thing in the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
They did that. They started plucking them brothers out of the community. Mm-hmm. The ones that were left could do whatever they wanted.
Mm.
And so a number of things have conspired to bring us here. That having been said, it don't matter no more. Once you know, you know. And once you know how history has conspired to place you somewhere, you're required to do something about that.
And on that one, that's you just preached right there. Because and my question to you is, why does it seem like, because you said what you just spoke on everything that happened to us as a people. You wrapped it up beautifully. But you said now it don't matter no more because now we know the game. why does it seem like in today's society with black folk, we still, at least to me, we still have that mentality of, well, the slave master did this to us back in the day, or this person did this. It seemed to me like a lot of times we make excuses for our lack of progress. And that to me is a direct injustice to ourselves. Because when you look at, if you go read the Moynihan Report, for example, in 1965, we were married at a rate of 86.7%. 86%. We had a thriving, and I do mean a thriving black economy under tougher conditions. I think the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was quoted as saying, he said that, and it was in 1968, the last speech that he gave. He said the annual income of the American Negro is more than $30 billion a year, which is power if we know how to pool it. That's more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. Problem is, we had it back then, but we've forgotten. Is it safe to say that we've forgotten how great we are as a people? Because it's blame on the other side.
I think a lot of things went wrong. I heard an expression the other day, and I really wish I could tell you who said it, but it said that black folk buy what we want and beg for what we need. So,
well, I mean,
I'll tell you this one example.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you my constant cry in divorce court to young black people were, where did that money go? What do you mean you've got 20 pairs of sneakers? Where's the college funds? Where's the vocational education funds? What are you doing with your money? And it appears that sometimes, I mean, it's changed a lot over history, but I saw a great 1961. How do you market to the black man? How do you market to the Negro? We weren't even called black then. He said, always charge them a little more and show them the best thing in the store because they want to prove that they can buy it or that they're good enough for it. And I think the minute that the commercial world got that, and then we've exacerbated with when we do get, rich and stuff, the Gucci down and all of that. I don't.
What's so funny about Jay?
This is Target.
Yeah.
I can tear it up, buy another one.
Yeah.
It's Target.
Yes.
So I just don't think that, I mean, I always tell people don't be a pipeline chick. Don't take the money from your employer and send it to the Louis Vuitton, the Gucci people. Don't just be a pipeline from one white boy to another. Make your money and circulate it within the community. Do black business and don't have a bad experience with one black business and say, oh, black businesses can't. Don't do that. You have bad experiences, McDonald's, you still go over to Burger King.
Even though the ice cream machine don't be working half the time. Even though that ice cream machine is not always active.
I always give black business 3-4 tries and help them out.
But now let me when you talk about the support of black businesses and just black people having that requires a certain level of drive, doesn't it? Right? Before you can say that you're going to take the game over, before you're going to say anything, you have to have that very strong mentality. And I don't think we've got that anymore as a people. I don't.
I'm not really, I don't think I'm ready to say that. I think that we have been distracted. And I think we just can't tolerate the distractions. TikTok and IG, it plays so well to our cultural uniqueness. We have the ability to create in a way that, I mean, guys in, deep China are doing the dances that we created, what I mean? So I don't think so. I just think if we can focus, Killer Mike and all of those guys, they got it. Stacey Abrams, it's not over until we decide it's over. Yeah. And it's like, it's a matter of now we know what we gonna do.
Yeah. I have said something before. I said that black people in America don't really make progress without two things: without some centralized boogeyman and some centralized form of leadership. If you go back and you look at the civil rights movement, you go back and you look at the entirety of it, we had a boogeyman, right? And the boogeyman that we had was, in fact, racism. It was the system of segregation, discrimination, humiliation. And then the leadership was, you had the SCLC with Martin Luther King and all those brothers you had before him. Right. You had SNCC. But I think what happened is that as we lost, well, I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to quote the Reverend Jeremiah right here. Dr. King wasn't even popular among African Americans until after he was dead. It took his blood to be spilled for his message to be spread. I know that I've said this before. The only thing that brings about truly effective change is spent money or spilled blood. I think that there's a problem, though, with us not admiring our leaders and respecting our leadership while they're here with us. Do you think that there are some lessons that we could have learned and that we were supposed to learn from previous generations that we have kind of forgotten about, or that we have failed to adapt to and failed to carry on?
I ain't gonna lie. I don't believe it. You know, King and Malcolm and Stokely Carmichael, they were all necessary at the time. But there comes a time where, you know, there were laws in place that were distinct. They're all gone now because that took care of that. Now all of it is imbued. It's within the system. It's within the mindset and how you think. And I know I would sit together with, you know, on judges, and I would sit there and talk and listen to them, how they chit chat amongst themselves. And so it's in the head. It's not, I mean, that's where it is. I don't forgot what I was talking about. What was I talking about?
We were talking about some of the lessons that you think we should have learned from previous generations.
Right. Yeah. And I was raised by a father who didn't give a damn what anybody else was doing. And I was raised in the community that him and his buddies started in the 40s, all doctors and lawyers and educators. I mean, the governor used to come over late at night over Uncle Jack's house next door. I don't know what they was doing over there, but you know what I mean? These were the brothers that had money and a position. You know, my father told me, don't never, ever wait for nobody. And don't ever ask, you know, ask one time, knock once. And once you knock and you know it's a door you have the right to go through, don't knock again. Kick that sucker in yourself. Don't wait on nobody, because they're not coming for you. Nobody came for me. Nobody's coming for you. That's how I was raised. Wow.
And obviously you carried that mentality with you. Do you think now, let's tie it back to the relationship context, because that's kind of the first part of the conversation. Do you think that a lot of women today are raised with that mentality, with that go get it, kick the door in if it's not kicked in if it's not open for you? Do you think that can have an impact on them trying to maybe find a husband? Or do you think that men sometimes, because I think if you look at the statistics, women are opening more businesses now than at any point they were in the past 25 years. Women are gaining more. They're about to outpace men in the top. You look at the top 1% of Black earners. Black women are only behind Black men by 10,000 people, right? Do you think that can create a disparity because you have the strong, independent woman? Or is it simply that men need to just be men, to quote Dr. Jordan Peterson, that they just have to step up to the plate?
I can't understand for the life of me how Black brothers can be upset that sisters are successful. It's like, you know, my sister did not she's a board certified neurologist.
Yes, ma'am.
Brain doctor. She didn't take that job from her brother. She just got that job. You know, so I don't understand, what is it? Y'all too successful, and what are you getting degrees for? A degree won't get you a man. We are doing what we've always said we wanted to do. We are a people. We are intelligent. We are bright. We are capable. And when you become intelligent, bright, capable, and brings you money, all of a sudden, 50%, hey, we can't marry you because you've done that. What is that?
Hey,
let us fail. Let us fail together. Celebrate. My husband celebrates my success. My success is in part very much a function of the fact that he was like, yeah, I see what she's got. Let me get up underneath her and push.
That's it.
He's up in here with me. You know, when we go to Australia, we go together. He's in first class with me.
So you see it more as a team aspect. You don't see it more as this.
And it is defeating to think of it any other way.
I'm gonna give you a quote though, Judge Lynn, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. You know how I get on Clubhouse. You know I get into that ism, man. So the question is now, I'm gonna ask a question. The women say, I need a man to be at my level. If I'm making 150,000, he need to be right there. He need to be right there with me. If I make it, whatever I'm doing, he has to match. He has to match the energy. Everybody don't see it the way you see it, because a lot of times the quote is, marriage is a business. It ain't about love no more. Love don't pay the bills. Love don't do nothing for it.
Marriage has business aspects to it, but it's not what it's about. When we're 80 going to dinner, the money ain't gonna matter. Are we healthy or are we not healthy? They did a great study at a Harvard, 80 years long, and the one thing beyond all else that made sure you were healthy and happy as an older person was significant, loving relationships. Not money, not success, none of it. So all this nonsense that they do on Clubhouse, and I think it is nonsense, talking about I need a high earner and all this kind of stuff.
You need a high value man. Yeah.
Probably, I didn't know. I knew that brother that I picked saw where I was weak and not cool and not good and not right. And he was like, I'm going to love her even with that. That's it. And I'm never going to use it against her. I'm never going to touch her where she's weak. I'm going to show her up where she's weak. And I show him up where he's weak. And together we created this thing. Just like my parents got together and created that which would be my sister and I.
You said something. Yes. You said something on the Breakfast Club. You said every marriage is as unique as the people that are in it.
That's true.
Every marriage, but why is it then that we have all of these? Because there's a lot of talk today about modern and traditional. There's a lot of talk about money and this black wealth.
Because everybody's got a mic and a mirror. That's why everybody's talking about it, because it's not because everybody with an opinion. You've had a couple of girlfriends. They've all treated you kind of the same way. Not you.
Right. Well, of course. Yeah, I had a couple, but and
they think they understand.
Yeah.
And all you have to have an opinion is the ability. You used to couldn't talk to the world unless you jumped through a lot of hoops. Now you ain't got to jump through nothing. You just got to go up to T-Mobile.
That's it. The smartphone and high-speed internet access is democratic. As they say,
platform and an opinion does not an expert make.
Amen to that. It don't. But do you think that there are a lot of people that are perceived as experts, right?
I think
these. Yeah.
The sad part about humanity is if you hit somebody with something that they don't know, we are so gullible. As long as it hits us how we want to feel or seems like it ought to be right, we buy it. And you may have one fact that's right, and then you fill it a bunch with a nonsense what this fact means. And people buy it because it sounds like it's right. We do it with our gut, and it's just not true.
Is it fair to say, though, that we operate as Black folk more on feeling than fact, right?
All people,
you think?
All people more feeling than fact. I'm reading this great book right now, and it's talking about your emotions are an elephant, and you're just a little guy on the top of the elephant, and everything you have to direct that elephant. And most people don't realize how strong or overwhelming or all-encompassing that elephant is. Which is your emotions.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. We lack emotional control, I think. And I think that, what would you say that Black folk have a fear going to therapy? Would you say that that's something, or a stigma surrounding it? What would you say?
I think there's a lot of stigma around it. I think part of it, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I mean, I went to a lot of Black churches, especially when I was back in Cleveland and Philly. Not so much out here just because I'm in Arizona. So, woo. Right. There was a sense that, we ought not, it's just, you just need Jesus. And that's just not true.
Right. Well,
I think we see it as a weakness. I think we see it as something we ought not need to do. And, white women and weak people go over there, and it's just isn't true.
I think that, it's funny when you talk about, I don't want to get too religious in this. I mean, as a Christian, you say some people think that all we need is Jesus. But no, sometimes Jesus might be telling you to go to therapy and you might not be listening to him. You know what I mean? He might be telling you.
I'm telling you.
He might be telling you, hey, you need to grab this bit of advice. You need to listen to this person that I put in front of you. And I think sometimes we don't do that because is it fair to say that we like to just sometimes think we're always right, that our way of life, our way of thinking is the way that it should be, and it's hard for us sometimes to look in the mirror and say, no, it is me, it's me.
What we don't do is question what feels okay to us. So we are constantly in a state of living like we did yesterday because we're comfortable with that, and asking anybody to do anything differently, it frightens us, and we choose not to do things that frighten us. So change in any manner, way, shape, or form for any of us is difficult to do, and you have to have a lot of impetus and reason to make that change, and it's hard to do.
It is. It is hard to do, especially when you have men that think that they, that they're, as they say, their don't stink. You know what I'm saying? Or you have women say, "Oh, well, I'm perfect just the way I am. God made me."
Right.
Yeah. That don't help us.
There's a million things wrong with all of us. There are.
You're right. That's not an truth. That's not an untruth.
Wrong with all of us. Most men wouldn't put up with me. I'm a lot of work. But I got a guy who could deal with me.
When you say you're a lot of work, what in your I'm gonna ask you a follow-up to this. What makes a man able to have a wife? Because that is a huge responsibility. It's a huge change in a man's life. What do you think in your marriage? What do you think made it the most successful from your perspective? What made your husband very successful in you guys' marriage? Because y'all lasted this long. So he clearly had to be doing a lot of things right. I'm imagining.
He's just a solid dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's very calm. He don't have no ego issues at all. I mean, he's just he was like a huge athlete in high school, mm-hmm. and he walked on to a football team in a D1 school in college. I mean, he's just a registered badass all of his life. Mm-hmm. So powerful women don't bother him, and he's very solid, and he's very sane, and he's very stately, and he's that guy.
He's that guy. He's that guy. Yeah, it's something about, I wish I could get people to see, you talk about powerful women. I think one of the things that makes women happy, no matter how powerful she may be, is the ability to have somebody standing to the right of you and beside you. And I think that we've kind of missed that mark as men, to say, because it is intimidating. Some brothers find it intimidating, because I know you said that, you brought up that some people can't have that discussion with a woman. Some men, if a woman make a little bit more money than them brothers, they're like, oh hell, wait a minute, I can't do this, because their manhood get in the question. Right. And how do we, if you could offer, because I know what I would tell brothers, I would just say, just go clean up the room, just go get it. If a woman you want got something you don't have, go get it. That's how I was taught. If somebody has something that you want to match their level or you want to exceed it, I was raised to believe that you put the work in.
We are not in competition. We are a team. You and me are fighting the world. So it doesn't matter who's bringing in the money. It doesn't matter who's this and that. He and I are fighting the world. Even when we're not getting along, we are a unit vis-a-vis.
That's right.
The rest of y'all.
There it is. There it is.
We ain't interested in what none of y'all got going on.
But let me offer you this. Let me offer you this pushback though. Let me play devil's advocate to get on this thing, because some men will say marriage has no utility to them no more. I'm gonna give you the example. Eddie Murphy, when he did his Raw stand-up, he said, I was about to get married. I found her. She was beautiful. Her body was perfect. And then I was in line, and I was so excited. I was so happy. Then I looked at the magazine, and it said, Johnny's wife wants half Johnny's money. Turn that shit back to Johnny. Johnny was worth at least $300 million when they met.
But it's interesting, if black men are saying that black women are out earning them, so we can't marry them, then how could it be that I can't marry them because they're gonna take half? You're gonna take half of what we got if we got more than you. So that can't be it. That can't be the explanation.
It's another. It's yeah.
I will say this though.
What's that?
That detaching sex from marriage and making it easy to come by is not serving us well as women if we want to marry. It's not.
Oops. She said something again. But when you detach it, well, wait a minute. Most men are gonna say, I don't want what I want to buy this cow for if I can't first taste out its milk. You detach it.
Detached it complete. I mean, just sleeping over. I mean, the stuff that I see people do just like, oh, and just hook up and Netflix and chill. I don't understand that. I mean, I came from an age where you don't have to wait till marriage, but you had to work for
well, you know what's
anything.
okay.
Any woman.
But you know what's funny though, and as generations pass, Judge, as generations pass, you understand. Y'all want. I'm again playing devil's advocate. Y'all wanted to be sexually liberated. Y'all wanted to be able to do what we do. Y'all wanted to have the ability to run around and say, I can have, if I have sex with so many men, I'm not a hoe. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm none of those things. Do you think that the push? You can call it the feminist push. You can call it the Black feminist movement. You can call it any number of things. Do you think that had any impact at all in how Black women have kind of made? Because some women weaponize sex, sure. The men will say they weaponize sex today. Sure, let's say you do. But I think that is it fair to say that women should go back to forcing men to do work to get access to that to the cookie jar, if you would?
If I had daughters, which I don't,
I
would tell them, don't give it up. Don't give it up easy. He's got to prove to you that he is worth and has value. And there ain't no Netflix and chill and going over and doing it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you. I'm not saying you got to be a virgin when you're married and all that kind of stuff, but you got to work for that.
Yeah.
And it's not just in the Black community, in the white community as well. Women are talking about, since we've divorced all of those things so completely, dudes are just like, I'm gonna stay home,
Well, I think I told women this before, and I tell them this at least once a week during my shows, is that imagine this, if every woman said, in order to gain access to me, you have to go to college, you have to have a degree. I said, if that happens,
standing in line.
The college, I don't care if the man is majored in general studies, or he gonna get a degree in something. He gonna get a degree in something because he know that if women set that as a requirement, that we're gonna do whatever necessary, because at the end of the day, it's about legacy continuation. You know what I'm saying? Most men want kids and that kind of thing. But I think also there's a flip side. Some of these women like having sex just as much as these brothers, and I think that's why I think that new the new generation of women.
I like Oreo cookies. Oreo double stuffed cookies. You bring a bag of Oreo double stuffed cookies into this house, I will eat them all until I get sick.
Right.
Now, the fact that I like Oreos does not mean I need to eat them every day. I can go in and get a bag once a year. And that's my, for whatever, that one time, something really bad happened, something really wonderful happened, I can buy one bag a year. Getting everything you want is not a recipe for success. You just shouldn't do what makes you feel good in the moment all the time. Sometimes yay, sometimes nay. But you've got to be able to say, hey, even though I want this, is this serving me well?
That makes sense. My dad used to say this, and he'll say this to this day. When it comes to a woman, when it comes to marriage, you got to make sure she got everything that she need. Whatever she need, you got to make sure she get that. And you make sure she get at least some of what she want. And that was his formula, And I think that's very interesting. So you're basically saying, because you like Oreo double stuffed cookies, you limit yourself. I
limit myself. So I could be 50 pounds heavier, but I choose not to be. And that's something I'm willing to sacrifice.
It's the product of choice. Do you think we understand? Because when you look at moving on now to just the general mental health, if you will, of the Black community, 73 cents of every dollar is spent consuming. We are consumers. Dr. Claude, you heard of Dr. Claude Anderson before, Judge Lynn? Dr. Claude Anderson. So Dr. Claude Anderson wrote a book called Powernomics. He said when it comes to Black folk, Black people are the number one producers of this thing called sweat. We're the number one producers of that. We are the number one most occupied people in prison and in working for somebody else. What is going to have to happen to get us as a people more focused? And you talked about circulating the dollar within our community. You talked about that earlier. Do you know that the Black dollar is only circulated once before it leaves us?
Not completely once. And in the Jewish community, it's like 7 times. It rotates 7 times before it spins out. And it doesn't. We have to change what our our requirements are for ourselves in order to do that. And it's not easy. It's not easy to tell somebody who hasn't had opportunity or hasn't had a chance to say, don't buy that Gucci bag that'll bring you joy. Put it in an investment, or go to school with it, or whatever. It's very, very hard to say when you're under pressure, and you want this one light joy, and to say, well, you can't have that because you need to do more work. It's hard to do, but it's something we're going to have a conversation about, and eventually do, because no matter what happens with race and gender and all that kind of stuff, Black folks ain't going to be okay in Baltimore, Chicago, and St. Louis and all of that until we change how we spend our money and what we do with the opportunities that we do have.
One of the things that I think is so interesting, though, when you just look at how we move as a people, how big a role do you think, or how much blame would you place upon some of the politicians that have used us to garner our votes? Because that has been proven that it's been done. These politicians, they sell us a dream. They sell us, I think, and I said Black people are suckers for symbolism. We are, you use us to get us to the ballot box, but after that, you throw us away in another box. How big of an impact does that have?
But that's just not Black folk. That's just politicians in general. They are out there pandering and carrying on, and they're, we should have term limits because it's a career thing. So you do whatever gets you to stay in your career, and it's really not. There are other things as well, but politics. I mean, it's just. And it's becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger joke as we go along, because more people have access. You know what I mean? On talk, and you can get going, and you can get 100 million, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, the requirements underlying to be a politician have just gone out the window. You can just be any nut.
Any nut with a platform can pretty much get up in there. And I think that's we have to stop that as a people. I think we got to stop being sold off so easy just because something sounds good. I think I've said we need to start, if a lot of politicians are bought now, they're bought with the fundraising money, they're bought with the money that supports them from these various big corporations. I've always said that we as a people need to start getting together, forming our own political action committees.
Let me tell you an interesting story. When I first ran for judge in 1993, 2 Black people gave me money. I got more money from Jews and white folks than Black people. Now, when I got there, they were the first ones calling to ask for a favor.
Of course.
Didn't give them any, but I didn't give anybody any favors. That's my job. I ain't gonna give you a favor. But they didn't see it as an important use of their money.
So in other words,
it is an important use of our money. Now, I think Stacey Abrams, God love her, has helped us with that tremendously. And I think that the seizing of America in its conservative convulsions is going to assist us as well. In we got to wake up now.
Right. And I think, and even as someone that is fairly conservative in a lot of things, and a lot of my own views, I think that there is definitely a lot that has to be. We have to start having intellectual conversations surrounding politics and our own economics. Because if we don't do that, if we're just going to trust what everybody else tells us, that's going to inevitably lead to problems down the line. I think that's obvious. That's been obvious for a long, long time. But when you look at it historically, a lot of Black people used to be conservatives. Do you think that there's anything we need to pull from conservative politics?
A lot of Black people are still conservative. I think that a lot of the churchgoers and all that, they can be very conservative. I just don't. I mean, conservatism has changed. Liberalism has changed. So, I don't know. I just think that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I know what the answer isn't.
Yes.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
But I think it's so interesting when we had those conversations around politics, around that, there's always, we know that we have to do something. I think sometimes that to quote Dr. King again, is he said that if you can't fly, you got to run. If you can't run, you got to walk. If you can't walk, you got to crawl, but by all means, you have to keep moving. But the problem is, are we moving in the right direction? right?
And I think sometimes we get overwhelmed by the seemingly large nature of the problem. And I remember when I was a judge back in Cleveland Heights, and I would see a lot of like 18, 19-year-old women in there, got 2, 3 kids, a high school diploma, stealing groceries from the grocery store. So there's nothing I can do from the bench for that. So I started a program for at-risk young girls, and I would take 7 girls and I would stay with them for a whole year. Go to them every week, ask them about their grades, do this, do that, do the other thing. But I might have changed maybe 5 or 6 lives over the course of 10 years. But if we all decided to do what we could, as much as we could in any circumstance we in, then we will see large scale change.
I think that to quote back to what you said earlier, when you were running, you raised a very interesting point. You said you got more money from Jewish people and from people that were Caucasian, because black people the black people that you may have asked didn't see it.
Yeah,
and didn't see it as important. Yeah,
they didn't see it as important.
Is it fair to say that when we have conversations about black people trying to move, trying to do something, why does it seem like we get less support from our own than from others?
I don't know. I think my father used to tell me this. He was a lawyer became a lawyer in 47. And he would say, when they were out cutting up, got into it with a prostitute or something, they called me. But they got an accident case where he could make some real money. They called a white boy because, I'm leveling up by giving to him as opposed. You see what I'm saying? I go to the white guy's office and all this kind of stuff. I'm getting this and that. And then, the white guy doesn't write and daddy calls them and, they call daddy, but it's just, I don't know. We just have to be more. I don't know.
We got to be more. I think we got to be more concerned with each other. I think there
you go.
Yeah, we have to be more concerned. There is a story. It was in the Gospel according to St. Luke, and I love this parable that Jesus gave to kind of demonstrate the necessity. We need to start treating each other like our neighbors, right? Right. To quote Malcolm X, he said the problem is you have a lot of us. We have the house Negro and the field Negro mentality still to this day. We still have it. What that means is that the house Negro, he lived in the house with his master. He wanted to be like him. Malcolm X said he'll pay 4 or 5 times as much as the house is worth just to say I'm the only Negro out here. I'm the only one in this school. I'm the only one in my job. Why you nothing but a house Negro? And I think that if we moved in a way that we treated each other as if we're not enemies, because when people come up in the hood, the first thing is, I got to get out the hood. I got to get out this. I got to get out of there. Jesus told a story. He says, one day a man was going from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he fell among thieves. And a priest and a Levite passed by him on the other side, and they didn't stop to help him. A man completely separate from his race comes by him. He sees him laying on the ground, and instead of just deciding to walk past, he gets down off his horse. He lifts the man up, puts him on his horse, and then goes to an inn. And he pays the innkeeper, says, look, whatever else this man is going to cost you, give him that. And that conversation happened because a rich young ruler came to Jesus asking him, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? And he said, well, follow the commandments and you'll get. And he tried to be smart aleck with Jesus. He's like, well, who is my neighbor then, brother? Because Jesus said, love the Lord thy God and all that stuff, and love your neighbors, you love yourself. The golden rule, if you will, doing to others as you would doing to you. And he's like, well, who is my neighbor? Now he's trying to be a philosophical asshole, but that question could have easily ended up in thin air as a theological or a philosophical discussion. I think what needs to happen is black people need to start seeing each other as our neighbor, as our brother, as our sister. We are, in fact, our brother's keeper. The one thing I think that other races do is they understand they have an elite class. Every race has their own elite class, middle class, poor class. But I think in most societies, in other races, we try to lift each other up. They try to lift each other up, whereas it seems to me that we're trying to tear each other down. The crabs in the barrel mentality.
Right. Yeah. And there are historical reasons for that.
Yes.
But and it's not a function that black people aren't thoughtful. They're not intelligent. They're not loving. It's just we've been in such a stressful situation for so long, and we respond, especially in a lot of critical circumstance, as a function of a people that are oppressed and compressed, and we just have to think beyond that now. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not. It's okay. what's next, and what's next is always not winning the fight in your neighborhood. It's coming together to have that neighborhood do something else. And I, honest to God, if I knew the answer to that, I would tell you. I think guys like, I love Killer Mike. I just think he's
Yeah.
fantastic. I love his ideas. He understands money. He understands, community. That's, if we could just like do that kind of thing, but we can all do it individually. We don't have to wait for a Killer Mike. I didn't wait for anybody. I didn't take any money for anybody to do that 10 years. I did it because it needed to be done for my people. That was it, and that was all.
And see, that's the thing, though. You had that capacity to put the people, not necessarily before yourself, but at the forefront of your thought process.
Like,
and I think
I'm not doing any good on the bench. It could be, I could put him in jail. What does that do? She's got 3 kids. And I said, I can't solve it at 19 and 20. I got to go reach them when they're 14 and 15 and do it that way.
So that means that it really does start with the youth. I always said that one of the things we need to do as Black people to really, I think, to fix the problem is we needed to reinstitute the core essential values that got us to where we were even in the 60s when our income was $30 billion a year. Right now, Black net worth is projected to be at 0 by the year 2050. Now I'm still
really? I hadn't heard that.
Supposedly, and I'm gonna have to pull this. I'm still doing research on the study to determine how accurate that it is, but that has been something that has floated around for a minute now. Black net worth is supposedly estimated to reach net 0 by 2050. Problem is, it don't have to be that case. It doesn't have to be.
Not at all.
I think if we put a refocus, Dr. King talked about a genuine revolution of values needing to happen to America. But I think within Black America, we need to actually have a refocus on strengthening the Black family. We need to have a refocus on getting back to those traditional values that we possessed in the 1960s and the 1940s when we had no choice.
But you got to ask yourself, how likely is that in the current atmosphere? You've got TikTok and IG rewarding everybody twerking, and it's not just us; it's everybody.
Yeah, well,
it's
but
everybody.
Yeah, but I think. Do you think how much of a role you think we got when it comes to starting that? Because whatever we do as a people, other cultures perpetuate. That is guaranteed.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Wouldn't it be trippy if we all decided to get off TikTok tomorrow and got on a Black platform and did all of our dances over there and nobody danced on TikTok? What happened? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like we make
But I see people, like in mainland China doing what we do, what we made up and just put out there. You know what I mean? We're really tremendous people.
But like you said, there's power.
Every group of people has something really flavorful and wonderful about them. We've got a lot of flavorful and wonderful things about us. We really do. I like my people. I really, really do. Yeah. And it's a matter of just getting it right. And we got to stop fighting amongst ourselves, especially that. I don't know. You know why I come in those rooms in Clubhouse?
Why you go up in there?
I cannot believe it's happening.
You can't believe. Let me tell you something. One of the rooms I had. Oh boy, this is about to be story time for y'all, man. It was one of the rooms. I think it was a room you came in. I was doing my devil's advocate, if you will, room. And it was the question of the real reason. It was something related to the fact, like I asked the question, I was like, what's the real reason Black men and women don't want each other? Is it the fact that brothers are scared to be men? Is it the fact that women are too masculine? And I think you had started listening in at that point, I think. And one of the points that I remember making was the problem today is that men have been taught to act feminine, more feminine than necessary. And women have been taught, either directly or indirectly, to be more masculine. And then when you look at, because let's be honest, the out of wedlock birth rate stands at about 69% or so right now. A lot of fathers are not in the home. And I think what actually happened is that the mothers began to, somebody said this before me, but mothers were forced to raise their daughters, but nurture their sons almost into submission at a point. They raise their daughters to go to college and say, you don't need no man for this. You don't need no man for that because I didn't. But then they tell their sons, don't you deal with no woman unless she's doing this, and the longer list of stuff for you. And that in turn has created a problem. And many women began to look at their sons as replacements for their husbands when the dads left the house. I think a lot of that has something to do with it as well. I think we do need a return. We have to have a new generation of people to push a new set of values. And when you look at TikTok, you look at Instagram, whatever we perpetuate, as I said, whatever we perpetuate grows. So I think what would happen if we all decided one day to get off of TikTok, to get off of Instagram, posting things that could be a little bit excessively provocative. I think that could save us. In my opinion, I think we have a chance.
But I was just talking about economically,
right?
If we understood the force of our dollar.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean, and just put it all in one direction and took all of our creativity off here and put it someplace else. I am not the person to talk to about that because I'm just now on TikTok. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I mean, we just have such tremendous capacity and so much power that we don't use as a unit.
I would agree. I would agree with that. I would agree with, especially from an economic perspective. But we've done it. The thing is, we've done it before. We've done it before. In 1961, we walked together for 381 days. In 1962, Negroes in Albany, Georgia, finally decided to stand up and straighten their backs up. And whenever men straighten their backs up, they got to be going somewhere because a man can't ride your back unless you're bending over. Right. In 1963, we were able to arouse the conscience of the nation, and we brought into being the civil rights.
But you can't do it. You can't replicate that because it was a different time and a different fight. There were laws on the books. You can't have get married cross-racially, and we had to get things. The 1965 Civil Rights Act. We had to get those. All of that. The same kind of thing that you have to do, approach those kind of problems are different than what you have to do now.
Yeah, they are.
Do you see what I'm saying? It's not about,
it's more of a moral law that we're facing. We need a new moral code of ethics, I think. It has nothing.
We have to fight on a couple of levels. We do have to fight with respect to, police and the accountability there, but we can't just leave that there, because if we solve that 100% tomorrow, people are still going to be dying in Chicago and Baltimore and St. Louis and all that kind of stuff. And we need to, as a people, decide we need to do something. I don't know. It sounds so facile. I hate what I'm saying as I'm saying it. It just.
Well, I think what you're getting
no easy solve.
It's not. What you're getting at though is
solve is more. As individuals, we all have to take a little more responsibility for everything that we do. It's not fair, but it's the only way to accrue real, legitimate, and meaningful change, I think.
I agree. I think that one of the things that we have to, one of my favorite books by an author by the name of Andy Andrews, it's called The Traveler's Gift, 7 Decisions for Living a Full Life. And one of the decisions is understand that everything you do matters. You mentioned cities like Chicago. Yes. You mentioned cities like Chicago. You mentioned cities even like Los Angeles to some degree. There's still a high rate of Black brothers and sisters killing Black brothers and sisters. Now, obviously, that is due to proximity.
Yeah. Proximity. People kill their own.
Right. That's obvious.
The most dangerous person in a woman's life is not some guy who's going to invade the house. It's the cat she's living with, because they're there together. And
yes.
That's what it is. It's proximity.
It is. I think that what has to happen is what you said. We got to reteach each other to love one another. We got to understand, even if I don't like you, love is greater than like. Look, dude, I don't know about you, but I'm trying to get to this money. I'm trying to get to, if we all trying to get to the same goal, what is the point in trying to pull me down when we can both be trying to lift each other up?
There's no need to shoot Nipsey Hussle. There just was no need for it.
No, there was no need for none of that. There's never, and that's always the problem with little violence. I think sometimes we do stuff for God knows, for clout or for some degree of fame or influence.
I don't know. I think that we have been so attenuated from power for so long that
we'll do anything to get it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem.
Not all of us, but there are some people that are living in pockets of oppression that are so dense that they see no other means by which to assert their power.
I think that's
They don't have good avenues for it.
I think that's what a lot of men's failure is, Judge Lynn. I think that's really what it is. We haven't had how one of a lot of things black men will say on Clubhouse, and I know you've heard this. Well, we ain't had a chance to be men. Black women, y'all too dumb, and y'all don't want to let us do what we do. Y'all don't want to submit. Word submission is like that's like telling a woman go to hell or something. The word, it's a cuss word but I think that. Do you think men misapply the definition of submission in a lot of in today's dating market? Because I swear to God,
First of all, even if you want to discuss that, you have to be married first.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
It doesn't say whomever you date.
Yes.
It says you're the man. It doesn't mean that. Once you've given me your life, then we can discuss that.
Come on.
Okay, that's number one.
Come on now.
And number two is I was raised in a community where I remember there was the doctors at Dr. Allen and Dr. Allen. She was a doctor. He was a doctor. They were successful. They didn't have to ask permission. The women did well. They raised all the women. I'm a lawyer. My sister's a doctor. Mr. Cox's daughter is a doctor. Patty was, you know what I mean? They raised us in a society where it was all married black men and women. Raised their children, their daughters and their sons to be successful. That's what they did. And I don't think that it's, I don't think that women are precluding men from being men. I don't believe it.
I agree with that. I think you got to want to be, though. It takes a certain kind of man to deal with a special type of woman, and I think that's really what it, in my opinion, I think that's what it all boils down to. Yeah. And that's the net of that.
If I need to do something to make you feel like a man, that I have to dim my light for yours to shine, I don't want you.
Say that one more time. You said something now.
I said if I have to dim my light for you to shine, I don't want you because, I know that there's somebody here who says, "Ooh, your light is Let me give you some more wattage, baby."
Find a man, women, find a man gonna give you more water. That's church. I'm trying to tell you.
I would not be on TV if it wasn't for him, and I would not be a judge if it wasn't for him. He was like, he almost shut down his accountant's office. He took on my judicial race like he was, let me tell you this. At the end of the night, on election night.
Yes, ma'am.
I was exhausted. And I was at home and nobody was home. And it was 7 o'clock and the polls closed at 7:30. And I said, I'm tired. I want to sit down. And then I thought to myself, what would Eric do? And I said, Eric would go and find a poll that was unmanned and he would go hand out flyers. So I took my black behind, got in the car, went up to 7th Center. I talked to 5 people, gave them my literature. They all 5 out and came vote for me. Guess how much I won by?
5 votes.
1.
Jesus.
Had I sat down and not thought, what would Eric do? Now, we were arguing and fighting by the time it was over because he was and I'm very shy and retiring. So he got, door to door, baby, door to door, door to door. But that's what I needed because I didn't have that. He had that. But, he's like, how can I help her shine? She's got this. What can I help her do?
Amen.
That's, when I succeed, he succeeds. I don't understand this. You've got too much for me.
Damn.
I don't get it.
Damn. That's that right there. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm 26 years old. You know me. I'm a young guy. Hope to get married. Jesus, if I can find, they don't make them like you no more though. They don't make them like that. Hey, you once in a lifetime, Jolene. Once in a lifetime. They don't make them that good no more. But the thing is, that story right there, somebody else is gonna have to hear that. If you have to dim your light to be with somebody, you need to let them pass. Let them pass through your light.
I can't work with you on that. I remember one time on Clubhouse, we were talking to a guy and I was saying, well, what if you had a wealthy, wife who did very, very well? And he said, well, we would have to live off my income and not hers. And I said, so you mean to tell me if you and I got married, I'd have to live in a house that you could afford? I
remember that. I was in that room. I was in there. I remember that. Yes.
I could live in a house that you could afford.
Yes.
And I said, so my abilities have to be circumscribed by your fears. Wow, isn't that a limiting thing for a people?
Lord Jesus, that
How
is crazy.
limiting is that?
That is crazy. I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way. That is some.
We can only go as far as I can go. You got to be up. I am your ceiling. We don't have a joint ceiling. I am your ceiling.
Dang, that's crazy. You know what?
You don't. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm. Please keep going. That just woke.
No. I'm just saying we just can't look at it like that.
Wow.
We just can't look at it like that.
But you know what? I guess it's so funny to me because, okay, I saw this on TikTok, not TikTok, Instagram. Look, we didn't mention TikTok so much. If a man is making $50,000 and his wife is making 30,000, together combined, they have an annual income of 80 grand. 50, 5 plus 3, so 80,000. One of the greatest cheat codes to wealth is marriage. So what you're saying in essence is that men should limit themselves if they meet a woman, right? And I have this theory. If I meet a woman and she's more successful than me, she's more successful than me at this time. Knowing what I want to do, obviously, as a content creator, obviously my goal is to be able to retire, from my day job doing this, but it's about what some men may feel like if they meet a woman and she's at a certain level, maybe his potential, even at his maximum, won't pass or won't match that. And that could create a level of fear within the men. And I think that's where a lot of those brothers try to speak from.
I don't know why. And I know you're right, but why does that scare you? I don't understand that part.
Well, it scares us, Judge Lynn, because how in the world are we going? Let me set the table by providing an example. If a husband and wife are arguing, in my generation, because I don't think this would happen in y'all. I don't think y'all women would expect. My generation, if I'm making 50 grand and my wife is making 80, 70, 75,000, 80,000, whatever, we get to arguing, fussing, fighting, and she thinks, well, that's why I make more money. I can pay the bills and this thing. I don't need your help. I don't need nothing from you. As a man, that's the ego shot. You know what I'm saying? As a man, he feel like literally he just got his ass whooped because now I can't say nothing to this woman because at the end of the day, she's got that one thing over me. She's got that bread, which is the,
really?
you know what I'm saying? Come down to that money. So like,
Well, if women are out doing that they're doing that to their own detriment, I would never say that to my husband. I never say anything that makes him feel less than. What's the point of diminishing the biggest engine I got? Why would I dismantle my best tool? My best weapon in my arsenal is that brother. Why would I detach his detonator? Wouldn't do it.
Jesus, that's it. I think right there is
I got no need for that. There's some shit I could say to him, though.
Yeah.
But I have no desire. The person who wins the argument around here is the person who happens to be right about the subject. Or if we're talking about cars, he's got the last word. We're talking about medicine. I got the last word. He talking about, you know what I mean? We're talking about dessert. He got the last word. We're talking about the main meal. I got the last word. Everybody got their field of expertise. He don't mess, you know what I mean? He said what he said. Well, and then, but ain't nobody keeping score about who was right and who was wrong. It's like, oh man, we screwed that up. Yeah, look at what we did.
That's love though. Love keeps no record of wrongs, right? That's what that's written down somewhere.
It is a waste of time.
I'm trying to tell you. That's it. I agree. And I think that's a great spot to end today's show on.
Sounds like a plan.
You just get, you set that up beautifully. That's it's about why would you set off the person you claim you love detonator? Even if it is some shit you can say to him.
Yeah, I did. Why would you? Why would you break the best thing you got?
And that's for men and women.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Amen.
That stuff I do. My husband, but he ain't gonna, you know what I mean? Because I'm the best thing he got.
Come on now. She know it. She know it. Yes, Lord.
But it's, and I don't, because he's the best thing I got.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. That's it. Focus on the best thing that you got and try every day to make it a little bit better than it was.
Make it a little bit better. I can't win without him.
Hey man, you know what, Judge Lynn, on that one, I'm gonna close the show with this poem. I want you to tell
All
me.
right.
Well, there's two of them.
Mhm.
One of them is it was how Dr. King ended his statement to a group of high school students, and he said it just like this. He said, "If you can't be whatever your job is in life, do your job so well that no one in heaven and earth could do it any better. Even if it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, you should go out and sweep streets like Michelangelo carved marble, like Handel and Beethoven composed the music, like Shakespeare wrote his poetry. If you can't be the pine on the top of the hill, be the shrub in the valley, but be the best little shrub on the side of the breeze. Be a bush if you can't be the tree. If you can't be the highway, just be the trail. If you can't be the sun, be the star. For it is not by size that you win or you fail." And I guess I could add to that. It ain't by the size of your bank account, gentlemen, whether you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are. And when you do this, you've mastered part one. Part two is to find somebody that's worth struggling through life with.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was a classic. And then the second one is a famous one from Langston Hughes. One day he wrote a poem entitled "Mother to Son." You got that one. You probably got that right there on the bookshelf. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. There it is. See? There it is. So, and that book is thick. That book is, I got to get me a copy of it.
Got my look.
You got your book note in it. But
I love me some Langston Hughes.
I know that's right. But you know, my favorite, I think Mother to Son is my favorite of his because it's so simple but powerful. You know, the mother didn't always have her grammar right, but she said, "Son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stairway."
Crystal stairway.
That's right. That's it. That's right. It's had tax in it.
No crystal stairway. Yep.
Yeah, it's had tacks in it and boards torn up in places with no carpet on the floor bare. But all the time I've been inclining on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So son, don't you stop now. Don't you sit down now because you find it's kind of hard, for I still going, boy, I still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Life for none of us as black folk has been a crystal stair because we ain't never had no crystal. Some of us get some crystal china, you know what I'm saying? We lose our minds. You dig what I'm saying? But we know it ain't. We know what happened. Now go out and make something else happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Judge Lynn, this has been an honor. You have made my day.
Well, I'm glad. I was happy to do it for you.
Yes, I appreciate it. So now I'm gonna have to catch you on Clubhouse again at some point. I'm sure you're gonna pop into one of my morning shows.
Other times I just listen. I don't want to say. I just cannot believe what's happening on there. I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah. If y'all have never been on Clubhouse, I would highly suggest you download it. You never know who you're going to run into. Judge Lynn graced my stage once, and I would say we've developed somewhat of a friendship ever since. Because she's just, and that's one thing I love about you. You've always just been yourself. Always just been who you are. It was never.
I talk too much to tell a lie. I get caught, so I just have to tell the truth.
I know that. Look, hey man, I'm trying to tell you, and you tell the naked truth. I'm telling you that you don't dress up nothing at all. So with that being said, Judge Lynn, I will let you go. You take care of yourself. It has been an honor.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it, sir.
And a pleasure. And a pleasure.
You have a fantastic evening.
You do the same. You do the same.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye. If y'all have liked the show, if you've liked the content, you can support the show. You can follow me on Instagram at the Dr. Julio. You can follow Judge Lynn at the Real Judge Lynn, or excuse me, at Real Judge Lynn, ladies and gentlemen. And I think she gave us a directive. She gave us a directive. The directive is do something. Do something. And this has been an excellent, excellent episode of Austin Off Script. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. More interviews coming down the line. Folks. Y'all take care. Have a blessed one. Go read the Bible. Go worship Jesus. Go find him, folks. And remember, do something. This is Dr. Julio. We out.